Kalou Rimpoche is a child lama, just 7 years old. 4 years ago, he was recognized as the reincarnation of the previous Kalou Rimpoche, one of the most important Tibetan grandmasters and probably one of the best known in the Western world. In Tibet, when a grandmaster dies, his followers carefully search for his reincarnation to ensure the continuity of knowledge and traditions that are over 1,000 years old. Now, the whole cultural future of a people is born on the shoulders of a child. Since the child was enthroned, he has been to France several times. This is where he made friends with Hermes as well as with Juste and Marie, whose parents were among the first to welcome and support the Tibetan refugees. They've not seen each other for at least 2 years, in fact since Kalou Rimpoche's last trip to France. When we were back in Paris, we really had to think very hard about what we could bring him as presents, so we chose society games.
Only this one?
No, not this one. If you want to eat this one, do like this. Kaput.
I will eat this one.
Yes, the white eats the black and the black eats the white. And if you eat everything, you win. No. You can't.
Juste and Marie spent their first night in India in a monastery built by the previous Kalou Rimpoche. Although the Western world finds it difficult to understand, for Tibetans the principle of reincarnation is not really rebirth in a physical sense, but rather that of an uninterrupted flow of consciousness. In a word, nothing ever ends and one life is not the whole story. My parents met Kalou Rimpoche in his other life when he was old. I was about 3, and my parents were extremely Buddhist, and they knew Kalou Rimpoche a little, and I used to go and see him in front of his altar, and he used to give me tangerines and fruit, which he had beside him on a tray, and that's how we became good friends, and I liked him very much, and he liked me too. We were often together, and that's how I met Kalou Rimpoche. The former Kalou Rimpoche always liked Juste. Juste doesn't really remember too clearly because he was only 3 at the time, but when Juste saw him in the temple, he used to run to play with him. But Mummy used to try to stop him and tell him to sit down, but Kalou Rimpoche used to say, no, let him do what he wants, let him discover his feelings. This is really very good for him. He was a very, very good person, very, very nice. Kalou Rimpoche and Juste got on well together, and when Kalou was reborn, that friendship continued. They like each other just as much, and now I hope they'll be together through all their different lives. When he died, I was very sad, but when he was reincarnated, I was very, very happy. And he's still my friend, even my best friend. All around the monastery, excitement is growing to fever pitch. The children are here to attend a most important event, the Kalachakra, an extremely specific teaching ceremony held in public. The teacher is the Dalai Lama himself. Whenever a Kalachakra is announced, tens of thousands of Tibetans rush to be present, including most, if not all, the Tibetan refugees exiled in India, Ladakh, Spiti, Sikkim, Assam, Nepal, and the Bhutan. There are also over 3,000 Tibetans from Tibet, with or without authorization from the Chinese government. Meeting places are never left to chance. This is a major Tibetan cultural crossroads. Many months of work have been necessary to prepare to receive all these people. All the Buddhist associations help each other, and the Indian Army has also been mobilized for the event. Whole fields have been transformed into improvised villages. In olden times in Tibet, the Kalachakra, or initiation to the Wheel of Time, was only held 2 or 3 times a century. But since the exile of the Dalai Lama, it is held more often. This is the 25th Kalachakra. Being awarded the Nobel Peace Prize has made the Dalai Lama famous all over the world, and security has had to be stepped up to protect him. The children, accompanied by Dolka, the mother of the young Rinpoche, has to pass through a security checkpoint to get to the Fodang, a building specially constructed to house the main participants in the ritual. In Tibetan Buddhism, the Kalachakra initiations are really the most important cycle of teachings and initiation. They are part of the mainstream of all the different traditions of the religion. Everyone attends this teaching cycle. It's extremely important, and to receive this from the Dalai Lama himself is very moving. These teachings are very precious, and this is why there are Tibetans attending from Nepal, Bhutan, and even the Western world. There are over 300 Westerners and over 350,000 people from the East. For the first time, the young Rinpoche is going to take part in this initiation. This meeting with the Dalai Lama, who enthroned him several years ago, is very important. High-level teaching ceremonies like these are really meant for fully trained disciples, but their most symbolic part conveys a profound message of peace for all mankind. During the 5 days the ceremony lasts, 7 hours of teaching alternate with meditation. For the Tibetans, Kalou Rimpoche is a tulku, which literally means a manifested body. After being identified by the previous Rinpoche's prophecies, the child had to undergo tests of before-life memory before being acknowledged. This is how knowledge is transmitted in Tibet. Kalou Rimpoche finds it very easy to sit beside the Dalai Lama all day long and receive teachings, even if he doesn't understand them all. He understands the basic sense and knows it's very important to participate in these teaching and initiation ceremonies. But for Western children, it is more difficult to squat on the floor all day long. Obviously, there are tremendous differences, and it's not really our culture either. Tell me, Hermes, do the French make things? Yes, we make lots of things, like trains and aircraft. What, aircraft too? Like the Chinese? The Chinese know how to make everything. Just look at everything the Chinese make. Everything always has Made in China written on it. Well, sometimes it's written Made in France. No. Oh yes, sometimes. No, no. And the Chinese who are fighting the Tibetans, what about them? Those are different Chinese, they're not the same. Yes, of course they are. No, they speak different languages. Well, where was that made? In China? No, that was made in Tibet, and that was made in Tibet. Tibet, everything was made in Tibet.
No.
Now he's 7, Kalou Rimpoche is being educated just like all the other pupils in the monastery, even if much greater care is devoted to him. Like everywhere else in the world, learning begins with reading and writing. Tibetan religious education is more particularly designed to stimulate the mental faculties. The first phase is to develop memory. Learning text by heart is supposed to teach children basic topics they will never forget. But sometimes lessons are interrupted by pilgrims wanting to meet the young tulku. The Dalai Lama recommended that the child should always have 2 teachers. One is always at his side and acts as teacher and servant. The second, Lama Sonam, only comes during lesson times. For many years he was a disciple of the previous Kalou Rimpoche. Now, like a wheel which is turning, today's Rimpoche has become his pupil. I'm Rinpoche's tutor, not because of my personal qualities, but simply because the previous Rinpoche was my master. By helping him in his studies, I am only giving him back what he has already given to me. It's my duty. After Tibetan comes the French lesson. Hermes knew the previous Kalou Rimpoche well, and the child Lama has renewed this friendship quite naturally. H. I. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What's your name?
Comment vous appelez-vous? Je m'appelle.
My name is
Hermès.
Hermes.
Je m'appelle.
My name is Rimpoche. Do you like studying Rimpoche? Is it difficult? Well, actually, I find it quite easy. The Dalai Lama himself studied hard for many years to become a great sage. The Dalai Lama is the most erudite of all the tulku. Rinpoche, do you have any time to play, time for leisure? I only have Sundays off, and that's not really off because on Sundays I have to perform the rituals. But sometimes I can watch television after the meal. I'm just too busy. I have no other free time. Buddha was born in India, a day away from Saligara. But Buddhism is far from being the main religion in the country. In fact, after independence, India became the greatest democracy in the world and declared itself officially secular. By that it meant that all religions were equal. Hinduism, by far the largest religion, seeks harmony with the world, and when the Dalai Lama fled to exile in 1959, India adopted the Tibetan people as a whole. At the start, we were a little frightened by the poverty, the clouds of dust, and all these crowds, but we soon felt at home. The next morning, in the courtyard of the monastery, a somewhat strange ceremony took place. The previous Kalou Rimpoche was very fond of animals, and even more particularly of fish. At the end of his life, he even set up an association responsible for collecting funds to organize the release of captive animals every month. This morning, the monks went to the market to buy live fish. After their prayers, Rinpoche pours a nectar made from long-life pills into each barrel. The group then set off to the banks of the Tista, the river which carries the water from the Himalayan mountain streams down into the plain of Bengal.
Le fait de libérer des êtres vivants,
liberating live animals means prolonging life, removing obstacles, disease, illness, wars and disorder. So it's a virtuous and beneficial act. And this is why we strive to free them. Among the 8 most auspicious Tibetan signs, fish symbolize prosperity and independence. Quite naturally, they live in total freedom. And as they keep their large eyes open underwater, they know how to avoid every sort of danger, such as falling into the samsara ocean. The dances and songs of the Kalachakra render homage to the person of the Dalai Lama, and the other grandmasters, however young, are also asked for blessings from the pilgrims. A class of young Tibetan refugees from Darjeeling has descended from the mountains to meet the man they still consider as the spiritual and temporal ruler of Tibet. The Dalai Lama is extremely preoccupied by the education of the rising generations. Assisted by his sister, Jetsun Pema La, he encourages traditional teaching in the refugee villages to conserve the cultural identity of his people, not only to ensure a better future for Tibet, but also, in a more general way, for the whole world.
You see, there is clear sign. Everybody now is pay much attention about importance of education, but not similar.
Not an equal amount of attention.
Not equal amount of pay attention about development of warm heart. I think that's the problem. Now many problem now having not lack of education, but lack of warm heart, good heart. So there, I think we must make some, effort, not religious side, but as a humanity. I think every individual, have the responsibility, especially in the family as well as in the institution, education institution.
Saturday, Monday, Thursday, Sunday.
Sunday is also the first day of the year, and because Just and Marie are there, it has been decreed as a holiday for all the monks in the monastery. In fact, in the Tibetan calendar, the date of New Year's Day changes depending on the moon and is usually in February. Traditionally, Tibetans have always adored picnics, and today everything is permitted. Games, dancing and singing. The discipline master has not come out of the monastery. For me, Rimpoche is like a friend, like anybody else, except that he's the reincarnation of Rimpoche. It's like me, for example. I was reincarnated as Just, but before I might have been a fox or a cat or anything. So there aren't any lessons today? No. Why? Because today's picnic day. So nobody's working? Nobody's going to the office? No, because it's like New Year's Day for Westerners. And for the Indians too? Yes, for them too. Although to a large extent Kalou Rimpoche has been brought up by the monks, his parents still live near him in a monastery and still have a say in how he is educated. However, the child is growing up, and soon he will have to obey the very strict discipline, rather like that in public schools in the West. His parents, Tolka and Gyaltsen, will then have to leave him. He will have to face the responsibilities of his destiny as a spiritual guide alone. Buddhist teachings are about controlling the spirit. Buddhism is rooted in compassion and self-abnegation, and the tulkus grow up with these precepts. What does the Dalai Lama mean to you? Well, there's no one more important than the Dalai Lama. He was born before me, before both of us, and now he's a very important person, a sage. One of his names means precious jewel and conqueror. He really lives up to his name. He's a precious jewel. Juste and Marie are going with their young Tibetan friend and the Dalai Lama to the monastery of Mirik in the mountains of Darjeeling. There they're going to meet Bokar Rimpoche, the spiritual successor and tutor of Kalou Rimpoche. It's now his task to organize the child's studies. In the Tibetan tradition, transmission and continuity are essential to survival. Bokar Rimpoche was the closest disciple of Kalou Rimpoche and has now become his tutor. But today the master, like the pupil, are both faithful to a 1,000-year-old tradition and equal before the Dalai Lama. As the Kalachakra proceeded, Kalou Rimpoche became very busy, and so we had less and less time together for playing. Kalou Rimpoche is a little boy who means a lot to many people. He's very, very important, but when you see him beside the Dalai Lama, he becomes very, very shy and extraordinarily attentive. Most 6-year-old children wouldn't be able to concentrate to that extent. When you see him praying and meditating hour after hour like that, squatting extraordinarily seriously, I find it quite difficult to believe that this small boy of 6 used to be the former Rinpoche. Although we don't speak the same language, we do understand each other perfectly. Whenever we play together, there are people who come to be blessed by Rinpoche, and they take all the toys away immediately, and we have to stop playing at once. And sometimes she really does not like to stop playing, and we play all the time like that. Let me tell you a story. Once there were so many people who came to be blessed all day long that he got really fed up, and so he blessed someone with a plastic toy. Performed by the monks, the dances of the black hats help everyone relax after these days of deep meditation. They also herald the approach of the last, the most important day. A little before the final ceremony, the safety barriers are erected, and, blessed by the Dalai Lama, the kusha is distributed. This herb apparently has purification properties. It is nicknamed the herb of dreams, as, placed under the pillow and the mattress, it makes dreams clearer and more precise, so that it is easier to find and follow the spiritual path. All the followers will be given some of this herb. Throughout the initiation, the Dalai Lama's teachings become more and more profound. To symbolize this, a strip of red cloth is distributed to each of the faithful. The symbol of ignorance, it should, in principle, be placed over the eyes and only raised after enlightenment. However, to make life simpler, most people just tie it round their foreheads. For the event, the great lamas and tulkus wear a special braided bonnet decorated with a jewel. These are the bonnets of the daikinis, the celestial fairies. The Dalai Lama likes to say that Buddhism is a bridge between religion and philosophy. These days, many of the grandmasters are no longer with us, and the Dalai Lama is surrounded by a nursery school of tulkus ready to take their place. I find the Kalachakra extremely interesting because you're blessed. But what's a little boring is that it lasts for hours and for hours. You don't understand anything. You listen, and the Dalai Lama speaks to us, but the words don't mean anything. But I'm sure if I understood what he says, I really would enjoy it. Today, everyone present will depart a little more learned and serene due to this immense class. But before leaving India, Juste and Marie have a final important meeting. Their presence has touched the Dalai Lama, and he has arranged to see them with Kalou Rimpoche and Hermes.
So, what do you think about another life on another planet?
Yes, from the Buddhist viewpoint, of course, there are many worlds, and there's different lives on different world. Our world, our planet, the whole universe is one of them.
And a meeting with our planets and another planet, is it good or bad? Or just say everyone staying in his home?
That just like our own relations with our neighbor, the relation itself. So we cannot say good or bad. If we utilize that relation in a constructive way, then that relation is good. If the relation is utilized more destructive way, then that relation is bad. So similarly, you see, relation or contact with other world, more positive way, and of course, good. If you see the intention, invade or exploit other universe, that is not good.
What do you think about video game and television?
Some aspects I think good. It help to to function your mind quickly. Then some other thing like war game, or killing or shooting. This I don't know. I have some reservation. One way, of course, just as a play. But through that way, eventually, there may be, influence in our mind. More, killing or fighting become something normal way.
So where did the spirit come from?
Spirit here I think means something related with mind. So mind is concerned the continuation. Without continuity, the mind cannot come certainly. Of course, it's like the particular mind. Of course, it's due to some other factor. It came. There's beginning, there's end. But because of the new body, some aspect of the mind also be new differently. So like Rinpoche, basically the same being, the same the continuity of the mind, but because of this is a new body. So this new body, unlike the previous thin body, now this is much more now. Because of much more fat. So accordingly, it's some different mental sort of aspect. But basic, the mind or spirit is continuation. Okay.
And you, Rinpoche, do you have anything to add?
Good. Thank you. Very good.
Just like ngarange double chires ngomaina.
Juste is one of my friends, a real friend. But if he was Tibetan or a lama, it would be even better. And if you don't become a lama, you remain outside Buddhism and wander, searching for the right way. Whereas a lama tries, through Buddhist dogma, the Dharma, to seek the way to the pure paradises. After the departure of the Dalai Lama, the monks go back to their daily lives inside the monastery. In the very precarious circumstances in which the Tibetan diaspora exists, will it be able to conserve this age-old wisdom in the years to come, a wisdom which is as relevant today as it was in the past? The future of Tibet concerns mankind in general.
Au revoir, Rimpoche.
Goodbye, Rimpoche.
Au revoir, Rimpoche.
Goodbye, Rimpoche.
Mon amitié avec lui est...
My friendship with him is very different. It's not like with my other friends, because I have to have much more respect for him. And that's why it's not quite the same
C'est
thing.
pas vraiment pareil, mais... Pour moi, ça change pas
But that
beaucoup.
really doesn't change anything for me. He's one of my best friends all the same.
Et puis d'ailleurs,
And
même
both
si
of us share a dream, to go to Tibet together.
ensemble au Tibet.
Thank you.